Good afternoon, Cameron University. This week in SGA, senators and representatives heard and voted on a new piece of legislation from SGA President Daniel Brown. The candidates for executive office were announced, and they are here in the CUTV studio. All this and more coming up on This Week in SGA. In SGA, President Daniel Brown introduced a piece of legislation calling for the enforcement of Cameron University Office of Public Safety Parking and Traffic Regulation. President Brown said parking on campus has become an issue because enforcement of parking regulations has declined. The Office of Public Safety reports fewer students are purchasing the required parking permits to park on campus, and lack of regulation has made purchasing one useless. The goal of the legislation is to give the Office of Public Safety the ability to place a hold on a student's account for violations starting in fall of 2010. Parking and traffic violations include parking without a permit, parking with a forged permit, and using an expired permit, and more. The legislation passed. The big news in SGA this week is voting for new executive officers. Running for the office of president is Elijah Morlett and Cody Gardner. Running for Vice President is Kara Kennedy and Chad Hagermann. Running unopposed for Treasurer is Taylor Brunwald. CUTV reporter Mitch Watson has the details on how and where you can vote for your favorite candidate. Let's take a look.
As the year nears its end, questions arise of who will be next to fill the executive offices of Cameron's Student Government Association. 5 candidates have announced candidacy with hopes of filling 3 open positions. For This Week in Student Government, I'm Mitch Watson. Chalk on sidewalks across campus has shown us that campaigning is well underway. 2 parties have joined the races for the executive offices of SGA. Campaigning for treasurer, vice president, and president positions began last week, and voting commences on Tuesday and runs through Wednesday night. Running for treasurer, Taylor Brunwald, a senator for the School of Education, will stand alone on the ballot for treasurer. Bidding for vice president will be senator of the School of Education, Chad Hagermann, and historian Kara Kennedy. Also on the ballot, Treasurer Eli Morlett and Senator of the School of Liberal Arts, Cody Gardner, will compete for the president of SGA. At this week's meeting, each candidate was asked questions by both the current president of SGA and the body of the Student Government Association, giving each candidate a chance to showcase their platforms to the association. Tuesday and Wednesday, voting booths will be open from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. in front of the food court in the newly finished McMahon Centennial Complex. Each candidate openly invites everyone to vote. For This Week in Student Government, I'm Mitch Watson.
Now that you know when and where you can vote, just who will you vote for? CUTV arranged for the candidates to come on air to help you decide. I will ask them questions, and they have 30 seconds to respond. Running unopposed for the office of treasurer is Taylor Brunwald. Let's begin. The first question is, why are you running for the office of treasurer?
Well, I've been involved with student government for the past 3 years, and I've been in leadership positions throughout my entire academic career. I felt that running with Eli and Kara gave me the best opportunity to best serve my university.
Thank you. What changes do you plan to bring to campus if you are elected?
If I'm elected, I would hope to see that funding through student government for student organizations is handled in a fair and equal opportunity manner. Also, I want to make sure that records for SGA spending are made public.
What do you think is the most important issue affecting Cameron students today, and how do you plan to address this issue if elected?
I think the biggest issue is tuition hikes. The way that prices have been increasing lately. I'm not sure what to do about that, but I know that with Eli and Kara running on my ticket and working with the student body, we can do something about that.
Thank you, Taylor Brunwald.
Thank you.
Running for the office of Vice President is Kara Kennedy and Chad Hagermann. The candidates will be asked 4 questions and given 30 seconds to respond. Kara Kennedy won the backstage coin toss and therefore will answer each question first. Let's begin. Why are you running for the office of Vice President?
I've run for student government for the past 3 years. In the last 2 years, I've been an appointed officer, and I've really enjoyed my time in office. But I think it's time to further myself more and run as an elected officer and serve my students better in that way.
Okay. Chad Hagermann, same question.
I was involved a lot this year as a senator. I wrote multiple pieces of legislation. I plan on, if I'm elected, to help out in the office of Vice President and the Executive Council to make SGA better. So I ran just so that we could further SGA.
Kara Kennedy, what changes do you plan to bring to campus if you are elected to the office of Vice President?
As Vice President, my job is to be behind the scene, but I want to make what's behind the scene known to everybody. Things such as absences where senators and representatives know how many absences they have. I also want to make SGA a organization to be known on campus once again, so things such as the village can be passed again.
Chad Hagermann, same question.
The job, as dictated in our Constitution, says that the Vice President is in charge of the public relations. That would be my job, to make sure that every student here on campus knows what SGA is doing. Big bills like the smoking ban passed this year, and little bills such as police driving on sidewalks. Big bills and little bills both, and issues that are facing students. I want to make sure that all students know what SGA is doing.
Kara Kennedy, what is the most important issue that you think affects Cameron University students today, and how do you address it if elected?
I think one of the biggest issues is students not being heard. Our campaign slogan is every voice, every organization, every major. And that's my job as Vice President, would be to make sure that every organization is heard, every major is heard, whether it's a small organization or it's a small major, that everybody is heard. And my job would be to go out and listen to their voice.
Chad Hagermann, same question.
I think the biggest issue students are facing is realizing that Cameron is a university. We're not a community college, we're not a small college, we are a university, and it's time that we start acting like that. With the opening of the new MAC, we've done great things, and I hope to be a part of the new changes that Cameron's going to bring up. And I hope to hear every student's voice and know how they want Cameron to change.
Kara Kennedy, how do you plan to win this election?
The main thing that separates me from my opponent is the fact that I have experience, and so that's what I'm going off of, is my experience, because we're both very qualified, and I think that my experience should get me there.
Chad Hagermann, same question.
I plan on getting students out to the polls who aren't normally voters, to let them realize that their voice can be heard here on this campus, to let them know that if you vote, especially for me, that we will get a way to have your voice heard here on campus.
Thank you. Thank you, Kara Kennedy and Chad Hagermann.